Our first story deals with a subculture of heavy metal music that some feel is sending a dangerous message to your kids.
The forces of evil on the dark side of devil rock.
And I want to talk tonight about the devil and demons and witches and wizards.
And we just mix it up with hardcore and aggression and come out with something we think's an original sound.
Loud, fast, heavy, you know.
Well, what do you got?
What do you got?
You're listening to Riff Worship, the podcast that attempts to answer the age-old question, what makes a riff? Why do we care about the riffs? I'm one of your hosts, Austin Paulson, with me again, as always, my friends in music, again for another week. Swindle, Dylan, how are you?
Just for one more week.
Just one, that's it. This is it. Wrap it up.
I was waiting for the it doesn't matter. Let's get into the interview kind of.
I was going to do that. Swindle took it away from me. So I'll do it. But we do have some incredible guests with us today. Somewhat returning guests. You may have heard them on a previous episode of talking about Blue Record, Baroness. This time we're talking about one of their records, and it is killer. They have outdone themselves. They have gone grittier, heavier. I know we're going to get into it. It's titled Sisyphean Cruelty. It's going to be out October 29th via Red Scroll Records. The first single and the video featuring the title track is already out now for you to stream. Record's coming out next week. We might have a song for you at some point during this episode, but they also have a few big dates coming through in the future as well. The first of which is going to be their album release show Friday, November 15th at the Nook in Westfield, Massachusetts. I am of course talking about our good friends in Chained to the Bottom of the Ocean. How are you guys doing?
Good. How you doing? Thanks for having us.
Happy to be here.
One of you guys I have not met, but I have heard your vocals on this crazy record, and they are visceral and anguished and incredible. Hats off to you. Yeah. They are so great.
Thank you.
That was a hell of a copy read, Austin, by the way.
Sometimes I do okay.
Regular Sean Evans over here.
God.
So the record, you've been sitting on this for a while. How does it feel that we're kind of nearing the release date?
It's good. I actually think that it has not been as long a run up as we had anticipated, because when we recorded in January, so it's been pushed back a little bit, but under a year in and out is pretty fast. So I'm feeling real good. I feel like I think we just went for it. So I'm feeling good.
Yeah, this has felt very fast in comparison. I feel like normally we wait and usually have something else or maybe two out or like done before it's even out. So this feels quick.
Yeah, we also decided to forego the shopping it around and sitting on waiting process this time. I did very, very little of that and then just went, I'm not doing this anymore. So that made the decision a lot easier to just go fast.
What made releasing it with Red Scroll Media, what about them made you want to work with them again? Because you had worked with them with a previous release, right?
Yeah, we did our last two with them. So we did the last EP, Consumed, and then the previous LP, Obsession Destruction. And they're just, they're our friends in their record store, and it's just we don't have to deal with any of the bullshit. So it's like we retain everything. They do the physical of it, and everybody kind of wins. I had personally done all of the previous records, and I think it's now at a amount and a point where I'm like, I can't ship 1,000 records, which is a really nice thing to say, but it's also like, it's too much now. Because we had only done pressings of 250 of everything prior. So the last LP was 500, the last EP was 500, and this time we're doing 1,000. So really going for it, I guess. But yeah, they're great. They're super easy to work with. I just ask, and then they say, send me all the stuff, and pretty much it's more or less do whatever you want. So that's really, really nice.
I do like the theme that's been painted kind of already out of the gate, just no bullshit, kind of no fucking around, because like you said, if we compare maybe some previous releases, the amount of time that passed in between some of those has certainly been longer. But also, I would also compare the kind of no bullshit, no, you know, I would also compare like kind of the no bullshit sense of this record, like in its sound as well. You kind of really whittled it down. I like the previous record, that your first kind of true full length, but really kind of scaled it down in, you know, in all things considered. And you know, you might have like a couple riffs on one part, or, you know, it's really out of the gate, you just kind of go for it, like you said. How long was that the goal perhaps with this record? Like, what was your mindset going into the album upon writing some of these songs or recording the album itself?
Generally, the short answer is yes, because we were so like, I don't want to say burnt out, but like the last LP, I think what like I was reaching for like Neurosis and I don't know, Isis and Amun Ra, and these bands that have like this incredibly heavy emotional weight, and like the effort that they have to put in is like obviously much higher than, say, like, I don't know, just like a punk record or whatever, at least emotionally, maybe not physically in writing and playing, but it takes a lot out of you, I think. And I also think that a lot of my ideas in that realm had been used on that record, so I didn't want to do the same thing twice. I don't think any of us want to do the same thing twice. And then also, like, I think we recorded that. Was that pre-COVID or was that during COVID when we were writing it? I think we were writing it during COVID, and then it was recorded after. But like the whole thing was just different, like time in our lives, I guess.
We're talking like session.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like during COVID pre. Yeah.
So it was like we did all that, and the last EP, Consumed, we recorded at the same place we recorded this new LP, and we liked the experience of just going in and being like, he's like, how do you set up? How do you want to do it? He puts the mics up and we just play. And we recorded, like, guitar took me like a day. So it's like, it's a very different experience than Obsession, which was incredibly meticulous, and like every piece of it needed to like fit perfectly. I think we just didn't want to have to suffer through that again, I guess.
I remember you mentioning on Obsession Destruction that, you know, some of the songs had like roots maybe back to like the beginning of the band. And maybe you kind of already touched on this a little bit, you know, with some of the songs that you've presented here for this new album. You know, how long have you been sitting on some of these ideas, or did you just start completely with a fresh slate?
Yeah, this was completely fresh. So it was like, I would guess that we started it after we recorded the last EP, Consumed. And it was born of watching deeply unwell YouTube videos in hotels while I was traveling for work. And then I would come home and I would like put on the whiteboard in the practice space, like, here are the ideas that I've got, like, let's like whittle through them. So this process was a little different in that I think I came up mostly with themes and titles before I came up with any music. And then we like reversed engineered the songs to match the titles that were the theme.
For like the song writing, I guess the music and the lyrics, did you bring riffs to band practice, or did you all sit together and like write out the riffs, write out the songs, come up with lyrics on the spot? What was the writing like for you all?
Usually how it works is Paul has riffs first. Those are given to drum and bass, and then when that's done completely, like I'm sitting in the practice space, they're working on that. I'm kind of coming up with things, and also in this case, like Paul gave me a theme to work on. And then once they're sort of done, because it changes a few to a lot of times, then I'll like flesh something out completely and finish the song if there's no more changes.
It's a lot of like bring stuff, take the voice memo, like while we're all in the room, iPhone voice memo, and then sending the voice memo and then all of us stewing on it for a week and being like, this part doesn't really make sense, or like, what lyrics can you add over what parts that were like ad-libbed while we were together?
Right.
To piggyback off of that, maybe, is there a song on the album that you felt like you connected with right away on, and maybe on the other side of the spectrum, what was the song that you probably changed the most in your time of writing it?
Do you have an answer for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, think of it by title, not by what you remember. It's working title, or like what you think it sounds like.
I think the second song.
Oh, okay. The one we picked for today.
That one did change.
Yeah. That was the one where I connected with the most. And like what I wanted the entire kind of thing to sound like. Energy wise, like that was the feeling from the beginning. That's where I like took off from. And then probably deconstruction was changed the most up until literally like the studio time. I think I struggled with that the most.
And as I recall, what was the other one that changed? The title track. The title track, we changed the vocal stuff in the studio. Barely Any Reason to Be Alive. The whole second half of the song is different than it was, and that was like a couple of days before, maybe even the last practice before we went to the studio.
And it was switched with Crawl.
Yeah, and we switched like some
swapped. We're like, we're gonna put this part here and this part here actually, and then,
yeah.
But it was very early, or late rather.
Yeah, the song, Crawl Off and Die and Barely Any Reason to Be Alive both kind of like had parts that were like commingled and like ended up trading parts out. But I don't really feel like you can tell, to be honest. They seem like now they don't. I don't feel like you could tell.
Yeah.
They felt unnatural at first, but
it does feel very cohesive. And we've been kind of talking about a little bit of the production here and recording. One thing that I think anyone, if you compare the previous full length to this new record, right out of the gate, like sonically, it's like different. Like tonally, the album sounds very different to my ears. And Dylan, you even kind of mentioned perhaps like a specific pedal that you thought maybe Paul had in mind for using this record.
Yeah, there's it seems like tonally on a few of the tracks here, there's kind of this overarching guitar sound on there. It almost sounds like a fuzz that's really pushed, or almost like a gated fuzz of some sort that you're using on a few of the tracks. Obviously, it's on Reverse Baptism, the opening track, and you kind of get that tone in mind. And my question would be, when writing these tracks, coming up with all of these riffs on this record, was there a piece of gear or tone or something like that that helped shape the type of record you were going to write with this?
Definitely yes. But I have I'll try to like truncate the answer, because like gear is, this is not a gear podcast, and gear is like, whatever. But the short answer is, yes, the one piece of gear is that maybe like I want to say a year and change, maybe 2 years ago, I got a new head from a friend of mine. His name is Dan. He owns Nocturnal Amplification, and he makes like a high gain kind of, I don't know what his ultimate goal for people was with it, but for me, it's like the perfect death metal head. So I run that no pedals, which is like,
okay.
For me, that was a huge change. So when we play shows, I play 3 heads, 3 cabs, and it's like a lot. And we run stereo bass too. So like bass is 2 heads, 2 cabs. I run 3 heads, 3 cabs, both sides of the stage. It's a whole thing. So I think most of my sound comes from the idea that it's going to be incredibly punishing from the second it starts. And so that's why the record sounds the way it does, I think. And in that way, the record is actually static. I don't change pedals or tone on any song. It's just all 3 amps are on. One head, the Nocturnal runs. I run straight into it. I have an Emperor head, which is like a mid-gain head that I run a Black Arts, Toneworks Pharaoh and 2, and then I have a low gain head, a Sour Sound, which I run a Bong Ripper fuzz into. And so the three of them kind of occupy different sonic spaces. And then what happens is that overlap creates no space. And then the same thing happens with the bass effectively. So long answer is that, but it's a static tone. I don't change, which is great for me because I mean, other than there's like some lead parts I throw like reverb on, but other than that, it's just I'm not stepping on no pedals. And the one piece of gear is the Nocturnal Amulet. I also, from Dan, borrowed a guitar with a Floyd Rose so I could do dive bombs. So
that last song has dive bombs all over it.
Yeah, I got a little carried away. Now I own a guitar with a Floyd, so my dive bombs have become much less goofy. But I really like the way they came out on this, so I'm not mad about it.
Yeah, me too. I liked them.
Yeah, with just hearing the record, and you talked about the ultimate death metal head. Like this is a very death metal influence or a death metal sounding record, for sure. Hearing the different way the riffs are played, or the different type of note choices, et cetera, et cetera. We could get into that for a long time. But yeah, it definitely right out the gate. First time I heard the record, I went, okay, this is a little bit more my speed. This is the death metal record for sure.
Yeah, and I think we didn't have that in mind specifically, but the transition, like in recording, would have been we did Obsession Destruction, and then we did the EP. I tried catching you, but you filmed me, and so like we recorded that after the LP, but it came out before it. So that was kind of a transitioning EP into Consumed, and Consumed is also a little more death doom. So I think our thought was Consumed will transition you into this record, without it seeming like we went from being like a more post-metal version of Doom to a death version of Doom without it, like I feel like it relatively eases you in.
There's a great transition. I think we've all had bands that we're really into, or were favorite bands that maybe took, 5 to 8 years in between a record. And it seems like the record prior to the new release is polar opposite. There's no segue in between, right? There's nothing in between that gets you to this new point. So it seems extremely shocking and jarring when you get that new thing. And that's a really good idea to have. And I wish a lot of bands would do something like that.
Yeah, I think that transition would have been bad if it was LP to LP. I think it like makes a little bit less sense. But like having recorded the EP with the same person and having the same gear and like the writing mindset change, I think helps it kind of be smoother. Even like the art and stuff like that, the whole kind of package kind of shifts, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we could start with art. I mean, you guys have certainly been known in the past to work with like a ton of really amazing, talented artists. I think I clocked in 6 different artists on this particular record, perhaps.
That sounds
with
right,
like
yeah.
the album cover and then all of the kind of insert stuff. I mean, it's so fun. I mean, they seem all kind of hand drawn for the most part, correct?
Yes.
I mean, some of them maybe I didn't know by name, but when I like looked up their kind of resume of artists, people could certainly, pick out a few here. But what was the idea to, instead of maybe going with one person in particular, you have just many? I mean, I would assume it just makes for a very great package. I'm sure all of us here collect records. We like to look at them. And I think people are certainly going to enjoy this when they get it in their hands and kind of rifle through some of that stuff.
So yeah, it'll be out by the time this comes out, but we're doing 2 versions of the record. So there's a deluxe and there's a standard. The standard is just, like single, whatever. It's what you'd expect, but the deluxe has every one of those. So to explain what you're saying, there's a piece of art that correlates for every song on the record. And in the deluxe version, there's basically an insert for every single song that has the art like in full size. And yeah, it's just like they were themed in the same way that the songs were themed, in the same way that the titles were themed, to just kind of like give you the full package of like what I guess what we would want you to feel when you're like listening to it and experiencing it all at once.
I like that. Now, when you wrote, let's say you wrote the song, right? Did you know when you had this idea, did you like, oh, this is like a perfect song to or theme to send to like Martyrdom Illustrations or is it Luciana Nadelia?
I won't try to say the name, but yes. So some of it was the same as the writing, where it was we had the title and then got the art that we felt corresponded to it. Some of it was commissioned, so like I would say it's about half and half. The album cover itself was found and then applied to us, like not really in the 11th hour, but later than I would have hoped. Not worth explaining why, but yeah. So, but ultimately, I think that was one of the finds that was just stumbled upon that I thought matched perfectly with the theme of everything.
Yeah, we all were like, that one. That's the one. That's the cover. When he sent it,
it's great that Red Scroll is also able to do like the two different versions of the record, and also B, like I'm assuming that takes some money to like print out all those different art, like all the different inserts with the art on both sides, I guess, or lyrics and art on either side. It's great that y'all are able to get all that art included.
Yeah, I think we accidentally prepped them for that by the first LP being a double. So anything we asked for that was less than that was going to seem like a gift. So it's like you got to think, if the last one was 500 doubles, it's 1,000, right? So this one's 1,000. So like they probably still like it's probably not as bad. I don't actually know specifically, but I could guess. I mean, we're doing this one is a run of 1,000. It's 700 standard, 300 deluxe. The deluxe comes in like a gatefold with 9 inserts and all that. So it's it's probably pretty comparable, but. Yeah, it's great that I could say, hey, this is the thing I want to do. Does this make sense? Is this possible? And they just go, yeah, sure. Why not?
We were just like also missing, like, I guess when we first started, we did a lot of stuff with our releases. Like we had wood boxes, we had like deluxe cassettes with like all this like stuff in it. It was just like a way that we could, with the products that we're also giving to people with the music. So this was a really nice opportunity to like give them another thing. Not that we didn't have that with Obsession Destruction, but it just felt like, I guess, a little less than normal.
Yeah, and that like being a double LP that took so long to like write and put out, it didn't feel like we could do anything else. And like we also didn't, like, so much of our resources were like burnt on the fact that we had to do it, and like that doesn't make sense. Obviously we had to do it, but there's like I don't know, that felt like the resources for that one were higher, so we had a little bit less freedom. And now with this one, I feel like we're in a better place to do more, and we have more resources available to us, and so that's why we're taking the opportunity.
I did want to talk about the production side of things. Obviously, you went with Seth, who you had mentioned worked on Consumed. Works at Machines with Magnets, which I believe you also recorded your live record at as well.
Yes.
And, I can speak for a lot of us, on this podcast too. I mean, he's done records that we all really like by artists we really like, Big Brave, Full of Hell. And I want to say he's also worked with maybe some of your other members in other bands, but what makes Seth kind of the perfect collaborator for this project, as compared to, some of the other people you've worked with, maybe like Will Killingsworth or, Chris, but what about Consumed during that process was like, okay, we got to work with Seth again on like a full length record?
I want you to go first, because I want your perspective on this, and then I'll answer.
I came out of Consumed really, really happy with how it sounded and how it felt sonically, and like also the process of doing it. It's just like a nice time recording. Not that anybody else wasn't that we worked with, but it just is super comfortable. And Seth like is a absolute pro. But I also just really, really loved how Consumed came out, like in general. So when we were thinking like, where are we going to go again? I think everybody was just definitely like, let's go back to Seth and make it sound like that, but in LP.
Yeah, I think, and I'm going to give a little small fun fact, which is that Consumed, after we recorded it there, we recorded the whole thing, and then he ran the whole thing through tape and slowed it down like 1%. So if you go back knowing that, it sounds like wider than it actually is. What the fuck is going on?
I don't know what's going on. I'm not sure what that was about.
If
Go ahead.
if you listen to Consumed, and you think about the fact that it's like slowed down, so all the music except for the vocals is slowed down like 1%, so it sounds wider and it's detuned very, very slightly, so it sounds like the tiniest bit off, which we were actually going to do at the LP, but then we were kind of like, it doesn't really make sense to do it for a whole LP, and like it's a whole different process the way you have to do it and stuff, so we ended up not doing it. But just the idea that he was like, what if we tried this, and how good it was, like I was like, oh, this is perfect. So that was just like a little fun thing on the EP. But on this one, I think we had such a good time and an easy time and a fun time recording the last one there, that it was like, there's no question, this is how I want to record again. We've recorded a lot of stuff in a lot of different places, and I've never had a bad time, but recording is like really stressful for me. And I feel like I have to be there like basically from the beginning to the end for like everybody's stuff. And that is probably very micromanaging of me, but I feel like I have to. So like when other people are getting frustrated, like I get stressed for them, and like then like my parts come up and I'm like, oh, I have to land this thing. But like with Seth, probably 70% of that record is one take. So it's like maybe it might even be higher. There are some songs I definitely only played once on guitar.
Yeah, I think it's like for me, it's like a warm up, maybe one song in the beginning, and then I'll do like half one day, half the next, or if more, one takes.
Like we took,
unless I fuck up, and then
we blocked 5 days to do this, and we took less than 4. So it was like, I like that he knows when a take for me or any of us is like about as good as it's going to be, and he doesn't like go do it again, because and I'm like, I can't really play that well, so whatever you get like raw, if I'm warmed up, is probably all you're going to get. So like if I know that I could do better, then I will, but otherwise it's like I usually am like, that's how I play, because we play the whole thing live to like match everything up, and then I might, like, guitar is too loud, it will bleed into the other speakers, so I have to do that separate. But like I can only play the way I play, so it's like not going to get doctored in any way, and I can't play it better. So
I do like that you mentioned also, some of the kind of experimentation with the EP. And I did see a quote from Seth that he likes to, approach each project with something differently. Was there something that he wanted to try in particular, or maybe something that you felt like maybe something previous lacked, or that you're like, oh, this is an interesting idea, let's try to maybe go for this?
I don't think there was anything particularly wacky. He probably did without us knowing.
Yeah.
Because it's probably just better not to tell us and just make it sound good. But like I can't think of anything specific, but I would venture to guess that, because it sounds different than Consumed. Like it sounds pointedly different than Consumed. Right, I think it sounds like maybe rawer.
Absolutely.
Or it's definitely more blown out, like the
right
actual mix and master of it. So maybe that would be what he says, but I can't think of any like specific little tricks.
I mean, we got talk about maybe your fifth member of this band, just noise and feedback 100%. I mean, it's like it's, own instrument essentially, which, we love bands that obviously kind of utilize that, like your I Hate Gods and, your Thous, of course, like that. But I do like, you kind of have this like constant kind of layer of drone where it's just kind of in your ear. I really can't stress, like, people should wear some headphones for this, because I do like catching all those like little bits and pieces of that as well. And also just even your vocals, like the kind of reminded me of like a Leviathan, almost, the way it's kind of like distorted and just like how visceral it is. If you are recording, your guitars in a day, and you said you kind of maybe split it up, like, do you do much warming up for something like that? You just kind of like, what's your process like as far as getting in there and kind of nailing those vocal parts?
Nothing almost.
Yeah.
I usually just go. I don't know if what's anything on vocals other than like, I know I have in the past, but I really wanted to shy away from it. But I'm not like completely sure what he does. I usually just say raw, like dry, raw, no effects. And then we did like a really cool chamber hall part on Barely Any Reason to Be Alive that I really liked, that I'd never not like didn't have a chance to do, but like always kind of wanted to do, like a cool like echoey part like that. But yeah, usually dry and no warm up.
Like
one shot.
There probably is some magic in that, but the way that the mixing part happens is that we'll record like a good amount of the takes. Like if we do all drums, all bass, and all guitar, he'll then say, all right, you guys need to fuck off for the next like 4 hours. And then we leave and go to the mall. And then he's like, come back at 3. And then we come back and he's like, okay, so I've mixed about 80% of the record. And like, so there is definitely something that happens in that time that is certainly magic, but
Yeah.
I honestly prefer not to know.
Yeah.
I also just want it to sound as close to, like, vocal wise, I want it to sound as close to what someone would get live, which is probably not a great mixer, and like no effects, and just like that's what you get. So I think I've been told I come pretty close, which is nice.
It's a nice experience. I mean, it feels very natural. It feels like everybody's kind of in the room, where you're like kind of like a live show. Drums are huge sounding. I definitely want to talk about the title track, Sisyphean Cruelty. At what point, maybe Paul, you could answer this more so, but like, at what point did you maybe think of this as like the center point of the record? Like, okay, I'm gonna name the record, or vice versa after this. Like, what makes this song stick out to you to like make as your focal point for the record, perhaps?
I specifically can tell you I was in the beautiful city of Binghamton, New York, and I was staying in a beautiful Hampton Inn. And I would venture to guess I was probably watching like, a very unwell person do a YouTube essay on like absurdism or something of that nature. Can you hear my cat? Can you hear my cat crying right now?
I couldn't.
Okay, good.
I don't think so.
I can, but I'm below.
Okay, that's fine. As long as it's not like bleeding through.
I'm just imagining you watching this video essay like over a continental breakfast over some like powdered eggs or something like
No,
that.
dude, it's worse than that, because I'm sitting in the chair that they give you for the desk, and the TV is on a mount that only turns like 15 degrees. So I only have like a bad angle shot of it. And I have the YouTube essay on that. And I'm in the worst city in America, and I'm not at home for a full week. And I just like fall into like a catatonic lull while the video plays on YouTube. And I realize all of my life's problems have brought me here. And that's where it comes from. I mean, the title track is like, it's self-defining, like, I don't have to explain the two words, but it's just the absurdity found in everyday life. Why am I in Binghamton? Why
why is anyone in Binghamton?
Why like just dumb shit. It's just dumb shit. Everything's dumb. And in like a more serious, like, death metal way, I guess. The absurd. Yeah. So it's just the absurd. There's who's the guy? Who's the guy? Camus. That was the world I was in the whole time. Was like, I read, was it The Stranger? Is that him?
Albert Camus?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So like, I read, I'm watching the essays, reading the books, and I'm all in on just like, truly the short sentence is just the absurdity of human life, but in the bleakest possible way.
This was y'all's first music video, right? Y'all didn't have any before this?
No, we did we did the live thing, but that doesn't really count.
Yeah.
What about the title track made y'all think like that was the song for the album, or the first of your songs, period, that like deserves a music video, I guess?
This was a point of contention, actually. And I think the two of us actually even disagree, but for me, it's that I think it's the song that encapsulates the full record the best sonically. I'm generally opposed to like the title track coming out first because I think it's redundant. But I was just like, this is the one that feels right. And if we're going with this whole no bullshit, like, it's announced, it comes out 10 days later. We're not doing this long run up. We just wanted to drop it. This is the way to do it. Just give them the most like riff heavy, aggressive song that defines the record right out the gate, and let them know what they're getting into.
So we're recording this before the music videos come out, so we haven't seen it. Can you explain the concept of the music video?
Yeah, so Jamie from Knoll did it in his style that he did for all the Knoll videos, and I believe he told me this is the first one that he's done that wasn't for Knoll.
Wow.
So I feel very grateful to have that opportunity. And it's it's all shot in 2 locations, I think he told me. One is a like a religious site that he had to get permission to go to, and then one is a cave system, and it just like fits the vibe of the song perfectly. It's exactly what we were looking for without giving literally any direction.
That was another one of my questions, is how like closely involved with the video were you all? And not
literally at all.
Yeah.
I asked and I trusted.
I actually am just learning right now that was shot. I thought it was like constructed out of
Oh, you thought it was like a PowerPoint?
Yeah. This whole
like,
time I thought
footage
it was
found
like,
off the internet.
I watched it
it's
a
all
few days
shot.
ago. I thought that was like found footage. That's super crazy. That's awesome. So I'm learning that right now with you guys. So
anyone listening should check out Jamie's stuff he did for like all that as spoken kind of. It's bonkers looking. It's like very vampire-esque, very like Nosferatu. It's just like all grainy film, like super cool. So I'm definitely excited to like get a glimpse into this for the album.
It's very Descent-esque, like the movie The Descent.
We're also going to be premiering a song on this very podcast. One, thanks for including us. That's very nice. Unfit for Human Life. Second song for the album. We felt like this was like, we toiled with this for a while. Like you gave us too much freedom, and
yeah, the freedom of choice is paralyzing, and that's a theme of the record, I'm sure.
But it's heavy. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
This song was actually my choice for, like, Paul just said that we disagreed on what the like release should be, or the single should be. I wanted to do this song, but just so you know,
Great minds.
That was my idea.
Yeah, I'm glad we backed you.
Yeah, thanks for backing. Appreciate that.
Well, before we get too far into it, let's throw it. Let's throw it to the song for the very first time. Unfit for Human Life. You're listening to Chained to the Bottom of the Ocean on Riff Worship. Wow, there it was. Wasn't it great?
We heard it too.
Unfit for Human Life. At what point in the process did this song come along? Was this like, early on into the recording for the record? It clearly stuck out to us. So I'm definitely interested to hear more about Unfit for Human Life.
I think it was number 2. I think we almost went in order for this record. Changes were made down the line to certain things, but this was the second song that we wrote.
I think once there was an agreed upon outline, like for the record in terms of like tonal flow and titles and stuff like that, we just start at the beginning and work our way down. I know that the first song and the very beginning of it changed a few times because that like the beginning of the record is obviously like very important and impactful, but most of the chunk in the middle, I would say from songs 2 to 6, probably we wrote in order and didn't change. But the beginning and the end were question marks for a long time. But I would guess that this was really early, probably the second song that we wrote.
Swindle or Dylan, do you guys have a favorite part? I know what my favorite part of the song is.
Yeah, I definitely do. Obviously, talking about riffs, the riff that starts at like 2 minutes in, minute 59 in. That is my note said this is the bee's knees. Just with how I listen, I was like, all right, yeah, this fucks. This is great.
I really love that the transition from the end of the first song. This song just like starts immediately, and the end of the first song kind of ends with like a blast beat, and then this song just like immediately shifts into I mean, it's still pretty fast for y'all, fast for like doomy kind of stuff. I just love the transition from the end of the first song to this song.
Yeah, I think that's how we've been playing it like nonstop, and probably when we play these live,
just
baptism,
go right into it.
Yeah, that's how it'll be played, without stopping, which has been like cool to play and like go right into something is super different.
It has like the slightest tempo change, which makes it feel like you're getting hit by a train, because it's like, we're at that whatever the tremmy kind of like death metal speed, and then it just like dead stops, but it doesn't dead stop in a way that makes sense. You just have to know that what the tempo change is, and I think that makes it feel even heavier.
Yeah, I do like when you guys do bring it down, and it feels like I kind of envisioned almost like a ritual or something like that. Is very rhythmic and kind of driving, and a lot of fun. Yes, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Great part.
And that's a part that I think is like very reminiscent of the last LP, in that like we didn't lose that like kind of more like spacey doomy aspect of like, in our DNA.
A lot of the song structures on this album were pretty simple. Like I think the first 2 songs were kind of almost like verse, chorus, verse, and then like a part at the end, like a bridge to take you out of the song. And then a lot of the other songs on the album are just like 2 or 3 riffs essentially for a whole song. Was that like intentional? Did you think that you'd like written a lot of stuff for the first full length and you wanted to like pare that down, or?
Yeah, it's hard because like when we write it all out on the whiteboard, it forces you to overthink in a way that I think is unhealthy. And that we'll be like, we'll get to song 4 and we'll be like, well, song 2 had verse, bridge, or like verse 1, verse 2, chord, like, and then we'll look at it and be like, well, the formats are the same. And I'm like, these don't sound anything alike. But but like then like, and then we'll get to song 7 and it'll be like, well, there's another song that starts with just guitar. So do we want to do that twice on a record? And I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about? Like, but we do it for every song. It's like, well, we already had a guitar alone part. Should we do it again? Like, is this too many? And I think that we did a good job not overthinking it on this one, but we have definitely spiraled into overthinking it before.
Gotcha.
Yeah, quite a few times.
It's easy to get like lost in the format and not the actual content.
Well, it's good. I mean, like I said before, I mean, it does feel very natural sounding. Like, I don't think there is anything that like overstays its welcome. Like, if you have 1 or 2 good riffs, then why do you need another one? Like, you already got 2 of them.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you have played the album live. How has that been? Has there been much of a response to this? Like, what has it been like kind of transposing these from like, the practice room to the recording studio and then to a live setting?
I think we only did it twice.
We've played like maybe 3 of the songs, maybe.
Yeah, we did that same thing where we play the first 2 songs at 1 or maybe 2 shows, and that was a really long time ago at this point. I think we just went on two tours and wanted to play like what was mostly familiar. So we wanted to play the new stuff, but we're like, fuck, like we're gonna be in a place we've never been, so we should probably just like play the shit that people might know, and not completely new shit that they've never heard.
Yeah, and I think to answer the second half of your question, I think the like number one thing, and it's someone said it earlier, is that like from the practice space to the studio to live, you should honestly, I want there to barely be a difference. Like,
yeah,
I want to be able to take our stuff, drop somewhere and play, and it to sound effectively the same. I know like live will be a little bit different, but like I don't want someone to be like, wow, that band was not good live, but the record is so good. Or the opposite. I don't want someone to say that band was really good live, but the record wasn't good. I want them to have like a sonic, harmony in some way.
I don't remember if it was on the Baroness episode or like off the air, but you mentioned like either your transmission on your van had gone out, I think, something like that. Have y'all like remedied the van situation?
No, I probably spend at least.
He's obsessed. He's obsessed at this point with this.
I spend at least probably 1 hour while on the clock at work every day looking at Marketplace and just trying not to get scammed. My girlfriend's dad sends me links all the time now to government auction websites where I sit and I watch pieces of shit vans sell for $10,000, and I just think I should just kill myself because it's not worth it. But I got a couple hot leads right now, so this weekend could be.
He's always got a hot lead.
So
he's always got this newest hot lead.
I got a hot lead in East Hartford this weekend.
Yeah,
so that'll
awesome.
probably be really awesome.
Yeah, somewhere awesome. He's always sending them to me. I say, I think you should go for the E350.
My standards have lowered so dramatically in trying to buy a van.
Drastically
beating you down so much.
Yeah.
Well, we've literally covered bands in episodes that break up because
the van blew up. Yeah, I know.
So congrats to you all
you guys
for
did it.
keeping it going through that.
Yeah.
I'm proud of you.
That is actually a very valid point in that like that could have been so much worse than it was. So much worse than it was.
I think, we sat down in a Burger King and had a very real conversation about like, what if we like didn't have resources to get home? That kind of conversation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did not to totally sidetrack you, but did we talk about that like experience on the other podcast? Because I'd love to just give you like a 2-minute story.
I would love to hear the the Burger King kind of.
Yeah.
We were on our way to a show in, I think it was West Virginia. So
Wheeling,
West Virginia, which is like an hour west of Pittsburgh, give or take. And we're driving through Virginia and the transmission dies to the point where it can't drive. So it limps, less than a mile to a rest stop, which there just happened to be one, which is also very lucky. We are so rural that there's no town, there's no cab service, there's no Uber, there's nothing. So we call AAA and they only have a tow truck that can take one person. Bear in mind, all of our stuff is in the van. Like we're still kind of like, well, listen, we'll Uber into town, we'll rent a car, we'll get a U-Haul, and we'll just finish the tour and go home. Because we're already got to go that way anyway. We cannot fucking leave this rest stop because there's no way to get out. We're calling cab services. The Uber expires after an hour. We're just rural. We're fucked. So AAA is quote unquote eventually going to come and pick up the van in one person, which is a different problem because then we have to bring it somewhere. Where can we fucking leave the van? But we find a mechanic who is going to look at the van. That's fine. I'm already in my head like this thing's toast, so it doesn't matter. But due diligence and all that. AAA says they're going to be like, I think it was like 2 hours, which is like fine.
It was like 2 hours at first.
It's like fine. We could probably actually still make the show because we're only like 3 hours away.
Yeah.
Now the question is, how the fuck do we get away from this rest stop. So I started asking people at the rest stop to bring us into town. And the first like 2 people were like, what the fuck are you asking me? And then I found a fellow long hair and I said, hey, I have a crazy question for you. I'm in a band. That's our van. It broke down. We can't get out. Can you just drive us into town? If you're going north, it's like 45 minutes north of here. Just drop us off at this U-Haul. Like, I'll pay you, whatever. And he was just like, yeah, okay. And that was like, it was like a nothing. It was absolutely nothing. Like he does it every single day. So he brought us to the U-Haul. We got a U-Haul. We waited at the Burger King for the van to arrive. 7 goddamn hours later, AAA finally arrives at the van. We go to the mechanic. And like by this point, we've canceled the last 2 shows. It's just like, it's so fucking toast. It's so beat at this point. And like the West Virginia show, like we wouldn't have physically made it. And then the next day was Philly. And we were like, I don't want to go to Philly with like a U-Haul and a second car. And like,
because the U-Haul only had 2 seats, and that was the big problem.
We couldn't get a van. We had to get a box truck. So it was like, that wasn't going to work. It was an organizational nightmare.
Yeah.
But shout out to the kid whose name I never got, who didn't want to take my money, but I did give it to him. I forced $100 into his hand, and he was like, I can't take this. And I was like, you're going to buy gas and you're going to buy dinner and you're going to never, ever question this again. You literally probably saved our lives, because if that hadn't happened, it's like the tow truck has to bring the one member in the van to the mechanic, and then they have to find a way to come get us.
Yeah.
Right.
And the nearest town was an hour away. So it's like,
we had to get a rental. Anything with more than 2 seats was at the airport that we had to drive to.
So I forgot.
Which was another hour away from the town that we got to.
So just picture this. We're here at the rest stop. We drive an hour to here to get the U-Haul. The U-Haul has 2 seats. 3 of us get into the U-Haul and drive another hour north to the airport to get a rental car, because it's the only rental car place open on a Saturday. So now we're all at the airport 2 hours away from the van and have to then it was a fucking
wow.
Unload the van and put all the shit in there.
So we sorted all that out. We went to Olive Garden. We celebrated being alive and nice people helping us and having a good tour up to that point. And we said, it's fine. In 2 weeks, we're going to the West Coast with Sumac. How bad could it be?
Well, luckily for that album release show, you're not going to have to go very far, I would imagine.
You are correct. That release show is about 5 minutes from my house.
Oh, perfect. The Nook in Westfield, Friday, November 15th. Going to be playing alongside Intercourse and Crippling Alcoholism. I'm sure it's going to be exciting. Oh, what can you tell me about the Nook? I'm sure you played there countless times or seen shows there countless times.
We have played there once.
Well, just it was our one release.
2 EPs ago release show.
Have they been around a while? I'm not familiar with it.
Yeah, there's no reason to be familiar with it. I grew up in Westfield and I've lived here for most of my life. And as long as I have been a functioning human, it has been like a divey place that you drive by and go, I don't know what the fuck goes on in there. But in the last few years, it's kind of come into like the vernacular of places that have shows with like good bands. So we're just, trying to add to that history, I suppose. And they're really great. Like, I know some of the people that work there, and it's like, I could just ask and they go, whatever you want. Anytime you want, you just let me know. So it was like, that was what it was like for this. I just say, we want to release show. And within like 5 minutes, they were just like, yeah, just tell us what you need.
That's awesome. The Western Mass community is like very open, it sounds like, and just very welcoming to like try any and all ideas, whether it be Red Scroll or some venues in your backyard. You also have some other shows that have been announced. One specifically for the holidays, Tune Low, Die Slow, 2024, Ho Ho, December 6th and 7th. You're going to be playing with a number of bands, but this is kind of like an event sanctioned or organized by the Acacia Strain.
Yeah, it's the first year of that. We've done a couple little runs with them, so it was nice to know that we were good enough to be asked to come back.
Yeah, they've been really awesome to us. We're super appreciative of um the light that they shine on us and like the opportunities they've given us in the past. It's always super awesome and surprising. Um, like how many people come up and they're like, "Yo, saw you with the Acacia Strain. It was awesome. Now I'm like a big fan."
That's so sick.
So
Yeah, Vincent has like a very good air of personality about being being tapped in on like new music, and like even like 4 or 5 years ago, he would like share our stuff, and then it finally worked out that we played some shows with them, and it feels really good. He's from Western Mass, so I think he's plugged in, but they're definitely the first band that gave us like a quote unquote real opportunity, like at a show that had a sound person and like
yeah,
had
yeah,
a load in time and stuff like that. So that's been really great.
And that's going to be in Albany, New York, Empire Live. You guys are playing the December 6th show. I do. That sounds like so cool. I hope they continue to, do this every year, make it a thing. And then recently, at the time of recording this as well, in May of next year, you guys are also going to be playing Maryland Death, the pre-fest of next year with bands like Tribulation, Cancer, on others, Molested Divinity, and Pentagram. So I would love to hear how that kind of came about. Someone reach out or this is really cool.
We played on the last East Coast tour. We played Silver Springs, Maryland, and believe it or not, earlier that day, our van broke down for the first time on that tour, and we had to replace
so innocent at that. You just
yeah.
If only you had known.
We had to replace the radiator and what was the other thing that went? It was expensive. It wasn't just the radiator, the water pump.
water pump.
No.
Yeah,
And we bribed a guy with a pack of cigarettes and a case of Monster to do it faster.
that's
Not
what
a
works.
joke. Not a joke.
That's
It
what
did.
works.
That is what happened.
You're in a
And
rush.
he got us to the show, and we got there like 5 minutes before we were supposed to load.
Amazing.
And then we played the show, and there were a ton of people there, and it was crazy because we thought we were going to have to cancel it. But there were probably like, I say a ton. It was like a Tuesday, and there were probably like 60 or 70 people there, I would guess. But it was a really small space, so it was packed. And then this guy at the show was like, "I'm so glad you came. I work with a guy at Maryland Death Fest. I really want to get you on." And I was like, "Oh, of course, we'd love to play that." And then we didn't hear anything. And then sometime in the last month, I was like doing stupid Facebook stuff for the band. And Maryland Death Fest sent us a message that went to spam on Facebook.
Oh.
Yeah,
If you can
forgot about
fucking
that.
believe that.
Wow.
So
Not
it was
great.
like, "Hi, I'm so and so from Maryland Death Fest. Like, been reaching out trying to get you guys to play, but I haven't heard back." And I'm like, "Motherfucker, what?" So I
Why Facebook? Why not an email?
I respond. He said
Anyway.
he said he emailed our agent, but when he said this is the email I sent it to, it was not the right email.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
So like bit of both. But so I responded. I saw it and I responded right away. I was like, "Dude, I'm so sorry. This was in my spam. Like, if there's still an option, we'd love to." And he was just like, "You know what? We'll probably get you on the pre-fest. Don't worry about it." And then 2 weeks later, ran a flyer. So good enough for me.
Hell yeah. Super exciting. With all this going on and, the record or, literally a week away, what else do you hope to accomplish this year? Do you, definitely a van, I'm sure, is on that list, but, is the plan to get out there more? What do you hope to accomplish, with the remainder of the year or into 2025 and in the future in general?
I feel like the rest of the year is probably going to be relatively quiet. I hope we get asked to do something really fun next year, I guess, is the short version. With every release, we've seen like, at least a small amount of like growth. And we always naively convince ourselves that like, wow, this will be the one where people really care about us or whatever. But that doesn't really happen for bands in this world, because there's just not enough like ease of consumption, I guess. But seeing steady growth over the past 7 years with every release feels really good. So feels like every release can actually have some weight and have some real impact on your ability to play stuff and get opportunities. So I guess I'm just focused on the release day and hoping that it goes well. We'll definitely do some stuff next year, but I think this year is other than what we have set up. So the release show, we're playing the day after that in Boston at Wentworth College. We're doing the Acacia Strain show. And then I guess we'll try to hit it next year when things are better in the van world. And yeah, I'm hoping it opens up some doors and we get some new opportunities because of it.
Tyler, when the record comes out, I want people to, certainly make up their own interpretations of have their own, sorts of, want them to have their own, how do I want to put this?
Interpretation.
The thing I said, right? Yeah. I want them to, have their own experience and interpretations with the lyricism and the sounds on the record. But, when people hear it, what do you hope that they are able to get from listening to this new record?
It began with Paul giving me the big theme, which he has done in the past. He's not done in the past. It depends. With this, he came to me and was like, this is my version of the story. He has a different version of what happened. But he came to me and was like, I have this idea. It's going to be, imagine yourself in complete desolation in your life. Like you are in the lowest point you've ever been. Like imagine you have no hope or money or a pot to piss in or anything, and you have to live and somehow manage it. And every day is hell. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. I know that. I think I can get pretty close to that. So
I don't. Yeah. I just want to step in for a second and say I don't remember that at all, but it is very clear that Binghamton had a lasting impression on me.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
like Hampton Inn.
Yeah, just imagine you're hopeless. I mean, like that's what I want the listener to feel. I guess I wrote it. I read a lot of I read a lot of audiobooks. I read a lot of audiobooks this year. I just I drive 6 hours a day sometimes.
Yeah.
Woof.
So I threw on whatever Cormac McCarthy book I could find, whatever nonfiction, historical, human spirit book I could find, about sailors in the polar Arctic, and this is what I came up with.
Yeah, it's about the indomitable will of the human spirit when finding yourself in Binghamton, New York for more than 1 minute.
Literally, that's yeah. When finding yourself on a 9-hour drive to
Schroon Lake.
Yeah, to Schroon Lake, New York, to Johnson, Vermont. Who fucking knows? Yeah, that's it. I want people to feel that.
I guess I'm just happy that people care at all still.
Yeah.
And I never really get over that part of it. Like when we post a release or an announcement or a pre-order or whatever, and people buy it every single time, I'm still didn't know that would happen. Or when we go on tour and people come to the shows and people are stoked. So, without trying to sound like a big baby loser, I just want to say thanks because it really does mean a lot. And thanks for having us and talking about it because you obviously care, and that means a lot too.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely.
We're just happy to be involved and glad to have you back. Hope to see you guys back here again.
Oh yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
All right, we've reached that part of the episode where we like to share some things we've been listening to, some things been checking out. I just got one. We kind of talked about Noel earlier. Our friend Cam from Noel and Pelagius kind of recently shared this album. I didn't know much about it. Siderian. They recently released a sophomore album called Spilling the Astral Chalice. It was released on Edge Circle Productions. This is a Slovenian band, like a progressive death metal band. It is wild. It's spacey and atonal, but there's definitely a lot of like harmony on it as well. So it's like a good mixture, and it is like really not a lot of stuff I've heard. I kind of recently got into the band Defacement as well. So if you're a fan of that band, I think you'll really like this as well. So thanks Cam, and check it out.
My rec is Freedom Sweet Freedom by Regional Justice Center. It's 13 minutes. It's fast. Power violence. I love power violence. I'm a sucker.
You are a sucker.
So check that out.
So my rec is the most recent single from New York noir freakazoids of sorts, Imperial Triumphant, and their single Eye of Mars. I've been looking forward to something new from this band for a couple of years now. This definitely sounds more reminiscent of the Alphaville record. So looking forward to what may be to come for this band. If you're a fan of really dissonant styles of black metal, Blood Ox Nord, Deathspell Omega, New York's on Pyron, check this shit out.
I'm gonna give a shout out to the new Drug Church EP called Slide to Me. Big secret vocal influence for me is this band.
All right, listen, I don't know how to say this, but I'm gonna try. Zompantly.
Oh, Zompantly.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for knowing how to say it better than me.
We've toiled over this for
beating the drums of Ancestral Force.
So good.
Yeah,
that shit goes so hard.
Yeah,
it's so sick, and all their live videos are so awesome. That's probably the record I've listened to the most this year, other than the new Upon Stone.
I do have one more recommendation: Sisyphean Cruelty. It's going to be out next Tuesday, October 29th, through Red Scroll Records. We've been very fortunate enough to get a chance to listen to this. You heard one of the songs here. Go back, listen to it again, and then listen to the record on repeat when it comes out.
Watch the video.
Watch the
That's
video.
already out.
Get the deluxe copy of this record. You're going to want to see all of that artwork. I promise you. It is so cool. Chained to the Bottom of the Ocean. Guys, thank you so much for making an appearance on the show again, and just having us be involved in any capacity. It really means a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us. Happy to talk about the record.
Perfect. Yeah. You can follow Chained to the Bottom of the Ocean at the abbreviated version of it, CTT.
BOTO.
Yeah, BOTO. Perfect. Go there. You can follow us at Riff Worship Pod, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We got all this stuff in below. But for myself, for Dylan, for Swindle, for Chained to the Bottom of the Ocean, you've been listening to Riff Worship. We'll be back next week with something else. See ya. Bye.
See ya.